And I'm filling in for Gracie this morning as well. Good looking and tall. I'd like to start by recognizing the beautiful flower arrangement placed by Kathy Grossman this morning, celebrating the upcoming birth of her granddaughter, Emily Victoria Crossman, due February 13th. And we'd like to start by welcoming our first and second time visitors, those of you who haven't been here a while, to stand if you're comfortable doing so. Introduce yourself and tell us where you're from. Let's start over here. This side, please.
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah, how's it going, y'all? My name is A.T. Harrison. This is my wife.
Joanna, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet y'all. Us and our two young daughters are been UUs for a while. We just moved to town from Memphis, so we're living in Old Fort. So really excited to see a UU church nearby. So.
Anybody else on this side? All right, let's go this side over here.
I'm Justin. This is my wife Barbara. It's our first time to any church together.
Well, thank you for coming today. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about us, please join us in the portico directly after the service. There'll be folks from our membership committee that are identified with orange name tags. If you want to have to answer any questions you have. We've got a lot to cover today, so I'd like to start by introducing Eric, who's going to give us a little brief overview of the canvas drive that's scheduled for March 1st. So,
Hi folks. We're planning for the congregation party and starting the canvas for this year. March 1st, Sunday at Harry Social. And if you're planning to come and you have an RSVP, please do so. We've got to get the total count into the food caterer. So we'll have lots of food, live music, some raffles. We don't want to say what those are yet. Yes, you want to. we got to decide on the raffles, but it'll be a good time with lots of good company. So just if you haven't and you're planning to come, please RSVP so we can get the catering order ready. Okay? Thank you.
well, thank you, Eric. And I'd like to also thank Carol and Evan for our stewardship committee. They've done a tremendous job. We're looking forward to the same this year. Okay, we stand on the shoulders of so many of you who started this church, purchased this building, and paid it off in 6 years. And that was back in 2008. It was a much-deserved celebration when this happened. I tell you, I wish I could have paid my mortgage off that book. Amazing. But seriously, to this initial group who committed your time, hearts, and resources, we thank you for that. Then the congregation grew, and a larger budget was needed to sustain the day-to-day life of this church. You created a music program, an RV program, you hired Michael, and you significantly increased your pledges. Last year, the pledge drive exceeded expectations, and I'm sure it'll do the same this year. And we thank you for that. And now we're at a point that members are inquiring about how they can commit to the future of UUCSB as part of their estate planning. And these inquiries made their way to the board, and we had to tell people, we don't have that yet. So, as your board, as you'd expect your board to do, we extensively investigated best practices. We reached out to several UUs, we visited those churches, and we fully explored options available to the UUA. All of this work led to sending this membership a resolution that will allow us to open an account and amend the bylaws, at a special call meeting on March 8th, we will ask you to vote on these two documents. As some of you already know, it takes $10,000 to open an endowment account at UUA. As of today, I am pleased to announce that through individual donations from your board members, we have committed $15,600 to this. I should let you know that your board is invested in the long-term sustainable future of this church, and we look forward to giving you that same opportunity. Peter and I will be available anytime prior to the meeting on the 8th, March 8th, to address any questions that you might have. And I want to extend a sincere thank you to those who have already been in touch. You have strengthened this process with your feedback. There's also some literature directly outside that we put together that will hopefully cover some of the questions that you might have. You can find it displayed again as a bulletin board directly to the right when you exit the church. And now I'd like to end this part of the service with our land and labor acknowledgement. It's located on the back of the order of service. And you know the other speaker, go ahead.
Can I make one?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, and I was going to tell you and I forgot, the women's group of the church meets every second Thursday of the month, and we're meeting this Thursday at 4:30. If you'd all of you would like to come, but mostly women. Sorry.
All right, with our land and labor acknowledgement, most of you know that I like participation, and for those that are comfortable in joining in, please do attention. You can find us in the back of the order of service. So, if everybody's ready, we acknowledge with respect that this land is the sacred and ancestral home of the Cherokee and other native peoples who survive and continue to make their home here. We deeply regret the genocide and broken treaties by which their land was stolen and from which we all benefit. We support the Cherokee as they seek redress for these injustices. We also acknowledge that this country was built on stolen labor and denied ownership of land to slaves who continue to experience oppression, economic injustice, and generational trauma. We bear a moral and spiritual responsibility to oppose and work to eliminate the ongoing harm of white supremacy and racism. I'd also like to mention for those of you who have been following the Walking Buddhist, anybody been able to group, you know, there'll be a call for Worldwide Peace this Wednesday, February 11th, between 4:30 and 7:30 p.m. And if you'd like to participate virtually, please see Sue for live stream website information. I believe you put some of that still in the bulletin board directly outside.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So with that comforting thought, let's begin our service. At the conclusion of the service, please help us stack the sanctuary chairs on both sides behind the pews, next to the windows. We'll put up some tables for potluck and put some chairs to surround the tables. And thanks for anybody that can help with doing that. We appreciate it.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's been a long 2 weeks. There's a heat wave that you did the other day. I think it's supposed to get up like to 65 sometimes. Yeah. I know we're all dying and we're going to drown in the tidal wave, but I don't care. I just want some heat and sunshine. Anyway, our opening words this morning are from Unitarian Universalist Marta Valentin, and here we go. We pause this morning from the chaos of the world to reclaim the beauty that is within these walls. We lift this community onto our shoulders with pride and, of course, grace-filled expectations. But not just for our children, but for our children and our children's children. With that in mind, thank you, Diane. Please rise as you are willing and able, and join in singing our opening hymn this morning. The morning has broken, hymn number 38.
Morning has broken like the first morning, blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet rains do fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the red garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Wanting to share a little vows with them. Of course, we're living it every day, right? Reading number 6-7 in the back of the great hymn. The way. We will read it responsibly. Friend, I have lost the way. 6-7.
The way leads on.
Is there another way?
The way is one.
I must retrace the track.
It's lost and gone.
Back? I must travel back?
No one goes there. None.
Then I'll make here my place.
The road runs on.
Stand still and set my face.
The road leads on.
Stay here. Forever stay.
None stays here. None.
I cannot find the way.
The way leads on.
Oh, places I've passed.
That journey's done.
And what will come at last?
The way leads on.
Good morning.
I'm Anna Linda Metzner, I'm the music director. And before I introduce our guests for today, I want to mention that I was honored to be invited to direct the choir for the Martin Luther King prayer gathering yesterday. And many of our choir members sang. Lots and lots of UU members and others, but it was absolutely a place to create a beloved community in Dr. King's memory. So it was a really good experience. But thank you. This is second Sunday, and we're going to have Andy Gwynn. He's a native of North Carolina, from Eden, North Carolina. Went to Davidson College, been living here since 1983. Worked for the North Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice and many years at Camp Woodson. He's a multi-instrumentalist and singer-songwriter, a member of the worship band for early service at Black Mountain Presbyterian Church, a founding member. Thank you very much.
There's always new people. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll stay warm out there.
Yes.
prime childhood. When we lost John Prine, back during COVID, seemed like a long time ago. That was a big blow. But we're lucky that he left us so much great music. This is a song, When I Get to Heaven, that he wrote toward the end of his life. And just an amazing synchronicity. When I get to heaven. When I get to heaven. Before we get started. When I get to heaven, I'm going to shake God's hand and thank Him for more blessings than one man can stand. Then I'm going to get a guitar, start a rock and roll band, check into a swell hotel. Ain't the afterlife grand? And then I'm going to get a cocktail, vodka and ginger ale. Gonna smoke cigarettes that's 9 miles long. Kiss that pretty girl on the hill of the world. Cause this old man is going to town. Then, as God is my witness, I'm getting back into show business. I'm going to open up a nightclub called the Tree of Forgiveness, and I'm going to forgive anybody who ever done me any harm. Well, I may even invite a few choice critics. Those syphilitic parasitics. Buy my finest biscuits and smother with a charm. And I'm going to get cocktails, vodka and ginger ale. Gonna smoke cigarettes 9 miles long. Gonna kiss that pretty girl on the tilt of the world. Cause this old man going to town. Da 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 Yeah, when I get to heaven, I'm going to take this wristwatch off my arm. What are you going to do with time? Once you've bought the farm. Then I'm going to go find my mom and dad and my good old brother Doug. I bet him and cousin Jackie are still out there cutting up a rug. I want to see all my mama's sisters, because that's where all the love starts. Miss them all like crazy. Bless their little hearts. And I will always remember these words my daddy said. He said, buddy, when you're dead, you're a dead peckerhead. Well, I hope to prove him wrong. That is, when I get there. And I'm gonna get a cocktail, vodka and ginger ale. Gonna smoke a cigarette that's 9 miles long. Gonna kiss that pretty girl on the tilt of the world. Cause this old man going into town. Sing it one more time. Get a cocktail, vodka and ginger ale. Gonna smoke a cigarette that's 9 miles long. Gonna kiss that pretty girl on the tilt of the world. Cause this old man going into town. Yeah, this old man going into town. thanks for singing along. So the next song I do is got to sing along part too. So I wanted to edit it.
Can we show them a little more love? Okay. This is the time in the service when we invite you to come and share a joy or concern. The water's there. I don't know. Let me know. I forget. Sometimes it's there, a miracle. And sometimes I can change it into water. It's there. It's changed. And the stones are there. The flame is there. Now we need you here. So, the floor is yours. Do I need to bring the stones to you? This stone is for those of you who, for whatever reason, didn't want to come up. We keep you in our hearts and minds and thoughts and prayers. In meditation this morning, please center yourselves as you usually do. And this is called faith in existence. What a concept. And we will have our time of quiet as usual afterwards. So, in the blessed peace of this holy hour, we come together as a community of faith. Here we come to be fed and to drink of the living waters, to feed at the table of tradition, to partake of the wisdom of our companions. The faith we share is not a commonality of belief, not the creedal precision we have left behind, nor is it the suspension of all reason. The faith we share is a fundamental confidence in life, a basic trust in human existence, an affirmation in the worthwhileness of the human enterprise. Our faith is knowledge that there is more to life than eye can see and ear can hear. There is more to life than thought alone can grasp. Our faith is an affirmation of our human capacity to respond to all that fate flings against us. And at the same time, we can still get up with a shout and say that all of life is good. Our faith is in the meaning of the past and the openness of the future as they meet in the eternal now. Our faith is in that great mystery of things in which we live and move and have our being. May we be faithful to the best that is in all of us, knowing how hard that is to do, and knowing there is simply no other way to live faithfully. And now that our minds are one, if only for this brief moment in time, I now leave you with the eloquence of silence. and so it is. The greatest use of life is to spend it on something that will outlast it. This is what Fletcher was talking about. And some of that spirit we collect this morning's offering.
I was pleased to see that the first hymn this morning was set in Eden. Because this song was set in Eden. Was that a coincidence or just yet another sequence?
Andy, could you turn your voice up?
Oh, yeah, sure. How's that? Better? Yeah, so, just reminding you guys, there's a significant holiday about to occur. No, it's not Super Bowl Sunday. It's Valentine's. So, you ever had a singing Valentine? Well, you can think of this song as a singing Valentine from Adam to Eve. Well, the snake, he gets a bad rap, but the world still blames you too. You let him talk you into tasting that forbidden fruit. Got us kicked out of the garden, that pit house we adore. But I've got to say, the truth is, I was feeling kind of bored with that soundtrack they were playing. A little too much harp and bell. I long to hear some rock and roll and raise a little hell. In the land of milk and honey, we were comfortable and dumb. But when every day's the same, you tend to get a little numb. So we are leaving. So sweet and bitter on the tongue is a taste of that original sin. We are leaving Eden. We have turned our backs on paradise for another kind of freedom. Well, it seems like centuries since we got thrown out of town. We hold on to each other to keep from falling down. We're older and we're wiser, and I owe it all to you. The gift you gave was knowledge and pain and passion too. This uncertain road we'll travel, this day leads on today. Ah, but when you drop that fig leaf, baby, you still take my breath away. I have always been a part of you, just as you are part of me. We're in this for the long haul, babe, for eternity. So we are leaving. So sweet and bitter on the tongue is a taste of that original sin. Yeah, we are leaving. We have turned our back on paradise for another kind of freedom. Sing with me if you like. Oh, we are leaving. So sweet and bitter, so sweet and bitter on the tongue is the taste of that original sin. We are leaving. We are leaving. We have turned our backs. We have turned our backs on paradise for another kind of freedom. It needs more voices. When I come back, you can learn the harmony.
Thank you for your generosity. Okay. When I was thinking about this talk, I reminded myself of what I had told you when we've mentioned it a couple of times. I still think one of the most dangerous things to what's going on today is a liberal with a knowledge of the Bible. And you don't have to go to seminary to get it. You just have to kind of look at it with an open mind sometimes. But because religion deals with the big questions. I'm talking about the really big questions of why are we here? You know, what is life about? Why is there evil? What's the purpose of our lives? What happens after death? What is salvation? What does that really mean? Which came first? The questions or the answers? And so today what I want to do is I want to talk to you or give you a little religious history of the West in a condensed kind of time, and then I'm going to tell you how we as UUs dealt with that and navigated that, put a little bow on it for you. Because this is how we got here today, and as events unfold, as they will, and in a nation that's really can't make up its mind yet whether we're going to be theocracy or not, we need to know that we have a history, but that we're just not a couple liberals sitting around talking. We have a history. People paid with their lives that I could stand here when I tell you the bad jokes. When he can tell about Eve removing the fig leaf, how it takes his breath away. You know, they would ask us to leave other services and churches. They would ask, this is frowned upon. Okay? And so, I want us to have that foundation. That when people say, well, you're heretics, or what does love beyond belief mean, or all of that, that we have a right to be here. We just zigged when our other brothers and sisters was that. This is a story of the early Christian church losing its influence and becoming a bureaucracy. It's the story of later theologians interpreting events to fit their need to control the people. It's the story of the origins of the doctrines of original sin and atonement. But the word has atonement in it. It includes the call and response, if you will, the question, answer, and then answer questions that developed over 1,500 years. The end result has led to some religious doctrines that have harmed and killed millions of people. And at the same time, it has comforted millions of people. The background for our story comes from the Old Testament, the First Testament Garden of Eden tale of Adam and Eve eating from what was called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God had provided them with a perfect life and asked only that they do not eat from this tree. And see, since this story has been passed down, most people have swallowed it whole, no pun intended. And we are being taught to keep paying, praying, nothing wrong with that, but obeying. When they ate from this tree, God threw them out of the garden and punished them with a future of hard work and pain. And from this biblical account came the idea that all of us are born in sin. All humanity is alienated from God. This is heavy stuff. You were raised with this. I was raised with this. You just don't know it's heavy until you wake up from it and you go, wow. Is that what you told me when that's a happy little hummer to be rocked to sleep. In the New Testament, we have a man who we call Jesus. Yeshua ben Yosef, son of Joseph. Maybe Joseph, his son, is if your father is not human and your mother is, that means you're not fully human. Later on, we're told that in the beginning that you shall be called Emmanuel. How they got Jesus from Emmanuel, I don't know. And I'm not here to debate that with you. But those are the things you kind of look at, but you don't see that at first. You can't ask those kinds of questions. But we have this man, Jesus, who was very, 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 very Jewish. We have Pauline Christianity. Jesus didn't know from Christianity. Jesus was a Jewish rabbi who really didn't like Rome. I mean, really didn't like Rome. We won't go into that. Because it wasn't all kumbaya and let's sing Imagine from Brother Yeshua. And we have the clues there, but we can do a class on that and talk about that another time. We have Jesus riding toward Jerusalem for the Passover feast. His reputation precedes him. His reported miracles. His healing messages of love, mercy, and forgiveness. And his exemplary life. Riding a donkey, he entered the city as a misgotten possible Mashiach, a Messiah. There were many Messiahs, because Messiah just means the anointed one. Many people anointed back then. Even before then, King David was anointed. But it's very political, see. I hear people say, Michael, well, why do you bring politics up? Or why do we're talking about politics. But I got to tell you, everything around religion has always been about politics. When you say Jesus is a king, that is really politics. When you call him Lord, boy, that can get you uncomfortable. Because it's all about politics. Every story in the First Testament to non-canonical, they're talking about politics. When Ezekiel was taken up and put on what I call a ship, and the pilot of the ship is talking to him about politics and the temple in Jerusalem. What we want is just a more compassionate politics, a more compassionate religion. But don't let anybody tell, oh man, why are you bringing up politics? Everything in our sacred scriptures are political. People forget that, conveniently. So he's riding a donkey and comes into Jerusalem. It's not going to be a great week. It's going to be a short week. He turns over the temple, in the temple, there's thievery, there's, the stuff that goes on today. He takes a rope, he swings it at the people, he turns over, very different Jesus than we're taught about. So we have to reconcile the two. We're doing a Course in Miracles on Tuesdays. So we reconcile this voice of Jesus, which we say and believe is Jesus, who's compassionate and loving and evolving, or has evolved. But the Jesus that we read in the scriptures is, he's hanging out with people who, when they arrest him in the garden, one of the disciples cuts off one of the ears of the people who comes to arrest him. He heals the guy, says, put up your sword. He who lives by the sword dies by the sword. But you got to ask, Jesus, why are you hanging out with brothers with long knives? And I'm not trying to, you have to ask that. What do you mean when you say, I don't come to bring peace, but a sword? We don't talk about that. What does that mean? Maybe Jesus has evolved like we all do. Maybe Jesus is Jesus and the Christ consciousness is something else. When did they merge? Right? These are the questions, because Jesus is not singing Imagine in these stories. He lives in occupied. Rome played hardball. The scriptures had pictured a warrior Messiah. Could this Jesus and his band of misfits overpower Rome because his God was stronger than theirs? He was a threat. This is what we know. We know that he was a threat to the establishment. He was tried and convicted and sentenced to death, the death of a common criminal. He was crucified between two political prisoners. So there was a political aspect to this ministry. His followers remembered his message and believed it was the real thing, so they continued in his footsteps. All disciples do that. Muhammad, Buddha, Lao Tzu. They were also persecuted, and the early church went and became an underground movement. They hid in the catacombs. It gained strength. The leaders tried to develop a positive, life-sustaining message out of the events surrounding his death. He didn't come back like he said he would, or as fast as he said he would. How do we account for that? So we have to start telling some stories and making some rules, tweaking some things. And this led to the doctrine of atonement. You can hear it in the Nicene Creed. I can still recite it. I soak that up like a sponge. Maybe you can recite it. It was written in 325 of the Common Era, which reads, Jesus, who for us and for our salvation came down, took flesh, and was made man, and suffered. And so, to understand the importance of the development of this creed, there's a wonderful book called When Jesus Became God by Robert Rubenstein. There was also a wonderful series on PBS. You may be able to find it. It's called From Jesus to Christ, how this man became the changer of world history. The late Bishop John Shelby Spong writes that this promoted the idea of Jesus as a rescuer. the full answer of how Jesus saves, which you see on small signs, you know, when you're traveling throughout the country, wasn't even developed until the Council of Trent in the 16th century. So what does that tell you? It was voted on. It's politics. It was voted on. The virgin birth is voted on. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying when you have to vote on it to make it doctrine, that's at least a yellow flag. The decree on justification condemned the view of the 5th century theologian Pelagius, who denied the existence of original sin. They must have been made of brass to come out and say that in the 5th century. So, the doctrine of atonement was finally fully developed. The Jesus Seminar scholar John Dominic Poussin called atonement the most unfortunately successful idea in the history of Christian thought. In his doctrine in brief, I have a book called Van Harvey's Handbook of Theological Terms. Humankind, since Adam, has been born in sin, which is an affront to the infinite majesty and honor of God. Such an affront requires an infinite satisfaction. I'm assuming the word satisfaction means punishment. But since no creature can offer such punishment, God must offer it through human form, because it's on behalf of humanity. Therefore, Jesus took upon himself the punishment. In other words, God crucified, he sacrificed his own son. That was the love that we've been talking about. I love you so much that I'm going to have my son killed for your sins. And then if you don't believe in him, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be at least a misunderstanding. This is not to ridicule. Remember we talked about, when we were talking about the conservative mind, well, the ultra-conservative, the MAGA mind, if you will, that the law, this part of the cross, they have the hierarchy, the king, God, their interpretation, the king or president, and then it's the high priest or the religious leaders, and then underneath them maybe there's law enforcement, and then you have the army, and then but they don't have this part of the cross. They don't have my relationship with nature, my relationship with sentient beings, my relationship with the earth. And so they got this part, but this part they don't have. And this is how this came to be, is what I'm trying to get you to see. So when you say, I don't understand, how do you do that? How can you do that? How can I do that? You know, this is not anything new. This is just that they're kind of stuck in 5,000 years ago. It's like arrested development. They didn't get it that the spirit of the law is more important than the letter of the law. That there's grace, there's a thing such as grace, and a thing such as mercy. Somehow it's just not, they overload with that. It has to be this way. So Christianity has held this doctrine in its entirety for over 400 years. 400 years. It creates a religious system that emphasizes the death of Jesus rather than his life and his teachings, rather than his example of love and compassion. We don't forget that. To all people, regardless of their status in life. You know, he's evolving, because there's a time where he just talks about, don't take this message to the Gentiles. Don't take this message to the uncircumcised one. He says that. But then later he softens. He heals the centurion's partner, slave. He heals him. says there's no greater faith in Egypt than this Roman soldier. Wow, really? I'm not doubting that, but I'm just saying, you see the contradictions, you see the evolution. So let's bring it up to speed. Our Unitarian and Universalist forefathers and mothers saw the importance of concentrating on the life and teachings of this man. Not making him Jesus Christ superstar, the rock star, but what, you want to follow this rabbi? Then this is what you're going to have to do. You have probably heard the comment that we call it the religion of Jesus is preferable to the religion about Jesus. He never taught the doctrine of atonement as the meaning of his life. That was added. I grew up in the African American Baptist Church and was taught the doctrine of atonement and original sin. I didn't know any better. I accepted it. I didn't know what questions to answer. I'm not apologizing for it. I'm just saying, when they get you that young, you don't know what questions to ask. You don't know what to do. You're just kind of picking your nose, man. Okay. It's good. Can I have a popsicle? I accepted I was born a sinner and made many attempts to find salvation through being born again experiences. But I abandoned that belief in original sin. I got woke. I started reading existentialist theology. I started reading about auras and healing and tarot cards and crystals and stuff that's in the Bible that I wasn't supposed to read or talk about. Reading the book of Paul Tillich gave me an entirely different view of how the universe works. So I abandoned those old ideas about God as an old man up in the sky, peeping Tom and watching me when I'm, just surveillance. You want to talk about surveillance. And I know that still works for some people, and that's okay. It just stopped working for me. And I don't mind that it works for you, but don't lay it on me. Don't tell me that I can't be who I say I am because I don't fit in that box. John Shelby Spong, the retired Episcopal, well, he's passed on now, bishop, whose books are widely read by Unitarian Universalists. He writes in a book, Why Christianity Must Change or Die. He says, I would choose to loathe rather than to worship a deity to require the sacrifice of his son. We do not live in sin. We are not born in sin. We do not need to have the stain of our original sin washed away. In baptism, we are not fallen creatures who will lose salvation if we are not baptized. The language of original sin, according to him, and atonement has emanated from Christian circles for so long that it's become kind of a mantra. That means you cannot question. Nor does its basic structure. You can't explore, you can't challenge it. So we need a new way to view human life. We need a new theistic understanding of God. I'm not saying don't believe in God, but at least believe in a God that nurtures you, that gives you freedom instead of guilt, that makes everybody your enemy, that demands sacrifice. It's repulsive, this magical view of Jesus that violates our minds and elicits guilt from us. I want to share with you a story that reflects the dilemma of 21st century religious people who were trained in these orthodox doctrines we've talked about so far. I want to share a story I found about a minister who I knew and worked with and who supported my ministry. He's now retired. He lives in New York City. He's a son from the hills of Tennessee. His name is the Reverend Bruce Southworth, and he was the minister at the community church of New York City. One of our larger churches has a great history of social justice. When you walk in, there's a bust of Albert Schweitzer and Martin and Malcolm and just a couple other people. Just the spirit, that energy is in the room. It's right on 35th and Park Avenue. Bruce said recently, as I returned from the supermarket with 3 bags of groceries in hand, I stopped at 35th and Park for a don't walk sign. I put the bag down to rest a moment. It was Labor Day and quiet in the streets. I remember Labor Day weekends in New York. Oh. It was almost like COVID hit. Nobody. Oh, thank God. Even crime went down. Jesus. I miss it. God help me, I miss it so. A few pedestrians. You know.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and hopefully they'll do right. Yes. So he says, as I waited for the traffic light to change, I was startled by the sound of a sudden whoosh of air and then a sharp thud. It's not working, the rapper's not. There goes my career. As I looked around, I couldn't see anything unusual at first, but then across the street, near the corner, I spotted a large book with a brown-orange cover. A dangerous projectile, to say the least. I stared upward to see if anything else was on its way. Nothing, and no one appeared. No more books came flying out. All was quiet again as I scanned the building for some clue. I crossed over to get a better look at this curious volume. The title was, printed in large capital letters, Orthodoxy. He says, my imagination went to work. Orthodoxy had been thrown out the window. He said, I too have done that on many occasions. Well, we all did it. That's why we're here. Our Unitarian Universalist heritage and religious faith encourage us to exercise freedom of belief and also to celebrate many paths of spiritual growth. It's not selective. You can find truth in many places. It's like going to Ingles and saying, I can only shop here. I can only shop at this, I can only get the vegetables from here. Well, there's vegetables all along here. I say that because people say, well, you pick and choose what you believe. That's simply not true. You pick and choose sometimes what you want to believe. And we all do to a degree. But we know you can find truth in the New York Times on Sunday, and you can find truth on a silent retreat. Humanity is too diverse and too wonderfully imaginative to be compressed into one mold or creed. He says, I looked up again hoping to see someone, and I wanted to say this to them. Come visit our Unitarian Universalist church across the street. There's a diverse community for you with a rich tradition and a life-affirming faith. Keep the best of what has nurtured you. You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't have to stop believing in this man called Jesus or whoever you want just because you become a you. Come explore with us. But no one appeared, he said. And the mystery about orthodoxy flying out of the window on that street still remains. In the late 18th century, Universalist minister, the Reverend Hosea Ballou, wrote in a document called A Treatise on Atonement that he rejected the notion that people will only do good works if they are threatened with eternal damnation for doing evil actions. Ballou goes on to say that atonement has to do with how we repair the harm done to one another in the here and now, how we make it right. You heard this before. You ever heard of the 12 steps? Got the little blue book in my bag. God forbid I should look at it. I do look at it from time to time. I say that so you just don't think that Hosea Ballou said this, that this is just not some Unitarian wisdom. He said salvation has nothing to do with being saved from the eternal damnation when we die. He believed that we carry guilt from the hells, the harm that we have caused in the here and now. And the only atonement or salvation that we do is how we make amends with those we have harmed here and now. How we have to go and say, you know what, brother, I need forgiveness from you before I can go on. This is our heritage. This is our break from dogma. After we throw orthodoxy out of the window, we experience the discomfort of standing in the questions. We don't have God on speed dial. We know that life is not black and white. We know it's a little bit of the Taoist, the yin-yang kind of stuff. A little dark in the light, a little light in the dark. Our liberal faith does not give us answers to those big questions I mentioned at the beginning of the talk. I'm sorry. But we do have food. But together we can learn a lot. We can walk the path together, you and I, right? Bible Gospel reminds us, we're just walking each other home. That's all we're doing, man. That's all we're doing. Don't follow me, though. Some nights you don't want to follow me. I'll get you in trouble. We walk together the path that each of us chooses, that we share common ground in many religious matters. We don't have to agree with all of it, but we share common ground. First of all, we hold that each human is born free from sin. Aren't you glad that's out of the way? We say you're born in innocence, with the possibilities for growth and development, limited only by outside events or whatever power you decide to give away. No one can take it from you unless you give it away. Reaffirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. What does that mean in common parlance? We're all made in the image of a God, of a deity. We just say it different. You have to be bilingual. Secondly, we hold that revelation is not sealed. It didn't just stop 2,000, 5,000 years ago, but it continues to unfold as we practice our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We're not tied to dogma that no longer works in the 21st century. Dogma that was created when learned peoples believed in a three-tiered universe, that the world was flat, and that we were the perceived center of the solar system. We hold that we are bound in a web of connections with all that is, with all of humanity, with all of nature, with the smallest particle and the vast stretches of space beyond our imaginings. We're all part of that. Look, you may have been wrestling a Viking sword 5,000 years ago. If you think you still are, see me after the truth. These connections make everything we do important. For every choice we make echoes with meaning, and it matters what we believe. Profoundly so. These inclusive and compassionate ideas need to be heard today by all who are disappointed or cynical or discouraged or fatigued, those looking for hope, those who want to find a way to work for justice and peace, those who want to raise children without dogma, for those seeking a spiritual home, and so on and so on and so on, and Scooby-Dooby-Dooby. UUCSB offers salvation to those who enter here, but not the traditional kind that they're talking about. When we think of salvation, we often think of wholeness. It comes from the Latin word salvus, meaning to heal and to make whole. And so we're all seeking salvation healing each other's wounds, and we're moving towards wholeness. The power of this salvation is not to lift us up out of this world. That'll take care of itself, believe you me. But to plunge us more deeply into it, more deeply into life, not to take us out of life. Living with forgiveness and compassion, loving our neighbors as ourselves, because you can't do it, let's do it, starts with you first. We continue to evolve, to improve our human relations, building religious community. The next step is to invite the larger community in, around us, to join us. May it always be so. We're running a little over, but let's do it and get something to eat. Please rise as you are willing and able, and join in singing hymn number 126. Come thou fount of every blessing.
But for now, you stand up.
From the fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hope of life's conversion fills our hearts with joy and love, teach us ever to be faithful. May we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young lamb dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of mournful life, through our love go like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come and fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher rays. With our gloom and desperation, show the promise of His day. Help us find our souls in union, love our hands and love our love. With thy name, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
Okay, listen, okay. Brother Gwen has another number. Okay, may the love which overcomes all differences and heals all wounds, because we're running a little late, which puts to flight all of our fears and reconciles all that is separated and all those good things. Yada, yada. May that love be in us and among us, now and evermore. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bon appetit. Thank you, Brother Glenn.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all, feel free to talk or whatever.